Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 50. My feet felt worn and calloused. I continued in the bleak darkness. This time I caught myself at the last minute before stepping off into nothing. The stone stairs turned again sharply, moving me farther from where I thought the inner city would lie. Before scarcely a dozen steps, the path pulled me left again. Tighter and tighter turns wound as I climbed ever higher. I got the feeling I was turning about a great spire. Could it be? The stone steps would go on thousands of spans. My mind reeled at the great distance, suddenly unsure of whether to turn back or not. But there had been no other entrance, had there? This had appeared to be the only way forward into the city. My stomach ached with hunger. With no walls to steady me, I worried about slipping and falling on the long way down. Perhaps there would be a hidden door that would admit me to one of the great spires. Who would have built such a structure with no entry for thousands of spans? It just made no sense. My mind again wondered where the people had gone. How could there be water in the fountains and no people? My legs began to shake from weariness. I had already been overworking several muscles I never knew I had from the long ride on horseback today. Fearing my legs would give out, I got down on my hands and knees and began to crawl. What a cruel joke this would be, making it all the way into the city, only to fall to my death out of sheer exhaustion. I almost laughed. A sharp pang of hunger nearly overtook me then. I would need water again soon. Maybe I could just rest a while. Blinking quickly, I caught myself with one arm as my leg began to slip over the edge. The sensation of falling had woken me immediately. Breathing heavily in terror, I could already feel exhaustion threatening to overtake my waking mind again. The promise of sleep hung at the edge of my consciousness. A low buzz sounded in my ears. Shaking myself, I tried to rise to my feet, but felt so weary I was unable to stand. My legs complained from the strain. Useless. I tried to feel along the edge of the stairway to see how deep the stairs were cut beneath me. I wanted to see if I could loop my shirt around it and fasten myself in place. Unfortunately, the stairs went for several spans beneath me and gave no easy purchase for me to tie myself in place. The cupboard ceiling was too high above me to anchor. The grainy feeling behind my eyes was powerful, ready to overtake me in moments once my willpower waned. I knew the futility of my battle to stay conscious. In a matter of time, my body would simply take over. Only this time, I may not catch myself before falling. Clawing to hope, I raggedly began pulling my body forward with my hands and arms, one step at a time. They disappeared up into the blackness. I would never last long enough to find refuge. My eyes closed for a moment, just a precious moment. I would open them again. I broke out in a cold sweat as I woke again. Suddenly, I had not moved from the center of this. Luckily, I had not moved from the center of the stairway. I clawed the skin of my face to try to keep myself awake. It would be futile. I knew it at the back of my mind, but did not want to admit it. How far would I get before I slipped and fell? I pulled myself up again, unwilling to give in without a struggle. No one would remember my name. The cold thought hit me, detached from the rest of my mind. No one would know I had ever been born. No one would ever find my remains. A cold feeling poured into me. I felt nauseous and claustrophobic in the heavy darkness. Another stair. I would keep pulling myself on. Another. So tired, I thought blearily. I was afraid to speak, to yell, to cry out in the utter silence that fell over me like a blanket. I opened my mouth to speak, no longer caring how it reflected on my sanity. My own voice sounded strange in my ears. "Hello?" I croaked. "Is anyone there?" My voice became garbled, echoing over itself in the great darkness. The sound cascaded around me and beneath me, before being smothered by a silence that terrified me as I sat huddling on the stone stairway. It was as if my voice had been suddenly pulled away by a demon. It had been there, and then suddenly there was nothing. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came forth. I coughed before finding my voice again. It was quiet and rasping, as if I had been shouting for hours. Maybe I had, I wondered strangely. Blink. I saw the darkness moving around me. No, it was just stillness. My mind must be playing tricks on me. So tired. Blink. I was sitting over the edge of nothing, looking down into the great gaping oblivion. Blink. I was standing now. When did I get to my feet? I held one foot out, ready to take a step off into... No! Blink. So tired. I cracked my eyes open and saw my slumbering body, my leg dangled over the edge of the stairway. I tried to summon my will to lift it, but it was heavy and leaden. Why could I see myself sleeping? Blink, 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 blink. There was a darkness taking shape. My vision wobbled and started to turn over on itself. I was looking down. I stood on the ceiling, my feet locked in place in the stone steps. I looked down and saw a terrible nothingness. Blink. I could feel the tips of each hair on my arm. Something was brushing them lightly. It felt odd. Blink. Where had the light come from? It was effervescent and glowed like polished moon silver from the bottom of the ocean. It was pure. Where the moonlight first touched the waters, it could not be held, only in dreams. Blink. I was standing. An incredibly odd creature stood before me, bathed in blue light. It had horns like an elk and hooves like a satyr out of great myth, long past. Its face was long and oddly stretched, as if over a canvas that had been pulled to its limit. Great amber eyes without irises stared back at me. I stepped forward to the surface, moving to the surface of the depths. Encased in water, I could see its rippling face near the surface as its reflection became my own. I screamed in an explosion of bubbles that destroyed the image. Blink. I could see time moving at incredible speed, day passing to night and back again in the space of a breath. I could see the city beneath me, sprawling outwards in all directions. Bright color painted the streets, human-like figures perched on the walls, their sleeves ending in birds' feathers. They stepped off the wall periodically and were gracefully carried on air currents high above the streets and sand. The sun disappeared again, only moments passing from my point of view. Darkness fell, and giant winged creatures flapped tremendous wings, beating them in sharp intervals. The sky was awash with the winged beasts. The air suddenly crackled with lightning. The darkness peeled back for an instant, revealing grotesque atrocities beyond human comprehension. The darkness returned in an instant, blessedly covering the horrors that should never have been looked upon. Different stars shone in the sky above. A feeling of timelessness washed over me. I tried to move my arm forward, but in its place was an iridescent blue appendage, glowing in the ever-changing light. I saw a great sea boil forward from every direction, the waters enveloping the dunes beneath their deep blue waves. The crashing waves rose beyond the city's walls. The sky was oddly haloed and full of fire. Meteors poured from the sky, plummeting to earth, giant craters marking their passing. The seas rose unabated, and winged figures madly built the great spires that wrenched into the sky. Aeons seemed to pass as the spires continued upwards, always upwards. The taste of ash and smoke became ever present. Enormous gouts of fire fell from the sky, streaking meteors evaporating figures, sand, and ocean alike into steam. The world careened, streaking and telescoping madly to my senses, a bitter taste of metal falling on my tongue. Bronze tentacles rose from the city walls, crushing them under its heavy embrace. They enveloped everything, lurching ever forwards, circling ever higher up the gargantuan spires rising into the sky. Brilliant bursts of light flickered. I could see winged figures swooping down from the great spires, some falling to their deaths, others forcing their bodies to meld with the enormous mass of bronze tentacles that shot out from the center of the city. In horrid fascination, I saw a woman of breathtaking beauty, with arms that stretched to great feathered wings fall, diving to meet one of the metallic monstrosities. There was a tearing, a warping. I had to avert my gaze from the blinding pattern of light and shadow that cascaded over me when the two figures met. An intense pulling sensation tried to tear me in the direction of the point of contact. I tried to look down at my body, but could not see through the mirror-like substance blocking my view. An enormous glob of moonsilver slid beneath my eyes. The only hint of my visage was bent and twisted beyond hope in the myriad of silvery beads that collided suddenly in front of me. I tried to open my mouth and felt an incalculable pressure enter my being, my eyes exploding outwards. Blink!